My name is Mystic Pelton. I am 25 and I'm from where a little bit of everywhere. There's not like a one place that I'm from, but most recently California, that's where I moved from to come here.
And would you like to talk a little bit about your childhood and how you grew up?
Yeah. Definitely had the privilege of having two very loving parents, which is a privilege that many don't. So shout out to them and the universe for putting me in that place, I suppose. And then had a speech impediment when I was little, so no one really knew what the hell I was saying until about the third grade. That's when I exited speech therapy. Actually, I was there from kindergarten to third grade. Used to get bullied because of it, and then really just finally learned how to talk to where people could understand me. Finished there, played some sports, softball, soccer, but then moved to California in college, or rather in high school in junior year. And then California is much more intense on sports than North Carolina was, so I was like, I'm good on that, no thank you. And my mom was the one that, per se, the gender roles of the marriage were switched, if you wanted to put it like that. Mom earned the majority of the money. It was always ask your mother. So I was surrounded by a very powerful feminine entity, right? She taught me how to be independent, how to make it when you didn't really have enough to think that you could make it. So saw them struggle, and a lot of the reality that I had, a lot of people had, of just struggling. You had what you needed, and that you were thankful for. Two sisters, can't forget them. One older, one younger. That's my whole heart, really, outside of like Moko. And yeah, we were always told, like, when no one else is there, your sisters are going to be there, so make sure you take care of them, make sure you guard them, no face shots, shit like that. So I was brought up with kind of, there's no excuses, you can't do that. You can learn how to talk, and I'm gonna show you you can do all these other things they say that women can't. And then two supporting sisters that, as I've come out as like non-binary and really been advocating for my they them pronouns, they've been my biggest supporters. And honestly, like, I don't personally trust anybody more than my two sisters, just because how we were brought up. But it gets dynamic, y'all, with language, because even though I'm non-binary, sister still has the connotation of what it means for my relationship to be with them, right? Like, I don't feel like sibling expresses all the love and the care I have for them as well as sisters do. So even though I'm non-binary, I do use sisters, which some people might be like, well, how is that your sister, XYZ? But yeah, or rather, how am I their sister if I'm not cisgendered female? But it's a whole nother conversation.
When did you come out to your family that you're non-binary?
Oof. So this has been a journey. I think, as with everyone's identity, or really, I hope, as people feel that it should be, like, I think identity is fluid. So I think you develop and you learn the language for what you are, and you learn who you are, and it's a fluid thing that's forever changing, right? So you could have asked anybody while I was in high school, or I was straight, I was cisgendered. No one was really talking about cisgendered, meaning like, you're the same gender as your genitalia would say that you are. So, I was feminine, therefore I was a woman, pretty much only with guys. And then I went to college and then got my first girlfriend. And then in college I was only with girls. So I was like, oh, I'm lesbian, or oh, I'm bisexual. And then, that should happen. And then, back and forth with individuals between like, male, females, trans man, things like that. And then that was in college. So that was 2013 through 2017 is where I began to acknowledge that I wasn't straight. Then it was kind of like the sexuality journey before I ended up at gender. So like, sexuality wise, pansexual, like, I don't care of the gender or the sex. Like, if I have a connection or there's that curiosity there, then like, I'm down for it, you know what I mean, as long as it's consensual and respectful and transparent. And then once I got comfortable there, I realized monogamy doesn't really fit, right? And then I was on the whole, am I monogamous or am I not? I'm not ethically non-monogamous, right? Like, no thank you. To each their own, though. And then after that is kind of where I was like, or as those are happening, I'm like, I'm not a woman. Like when people call me ma'am or girl, like you know, there's this feeling of dysphoria, which is like a really interesting feeling to have. And so as I'm gaining all this perspective in like sexuality and in terms of monogamy or not, I'm like, you learn more language, and I stumbled across the terminology non-binary, and it was like not adhering to either side of the gender spectrum, and I was like, fuck. And that was probably, honestly, it's probably been about the time that I've been over here is when I've been questioning it. So that was 2018 when I moved over here. 2017, and then officially I came out to my mom and sisters probably not even 6 to 8 months ago. They them pronouns, very new, probably within the last 6 months, really during quarantine. And so yeah, that's kind of that. And who knows, like I used to only be like, oh, she, her is fine, but then I realized like it's really not. But I was afraid of the energy it was gonna take to like actually care what people said my pronouns were. Because if you say like, oh, I'm she, her, and they use she, her, you're like, ah, that's cool, you're using my pronoun, right? But if you're like, hey, they, them, and they don't use they, them, now they're using she, her, now that's like insulting, even though it is a language habit, right? That's a whole nother dynamic conversation, but you know, so very long-winded answer to say the specific answer to that question, Danielle, was 6 to 8 months. So long-winded, I apologize.
No, that was a perfect answer. What do you? That was absolutely perfect. So, what do you think about what's going on in the world right now, and what would you change about today's society?
I think what's going on is the technology is existing to expose something that's been going on forever, and especially in relation to Black people. Forever in the history of America, y'all, and I spell America with a triple K, right? Black people have never had rights. Point blank, period. When there was a Supreme Court case or something that gave them the authority to have that right, you know what I mean? And in terms of legality, states then created a way that they were not going to respect that, right? And it's not just on a policy level, it's on a social level. So to say that, to answer that question with, you know, police brutality is getting exposed is kind of like a simplistic answer almost of why it's happening. It's happening because it's taken this sickness of people to need to see the trauma to have a feeling, and that's a whole nother conversation. Like, I don't think those videos should be reposted. I think those individuals should be respected, and I think people should give a fuck whether or not they see someone kneeling on someone's neck or something like that, you know? Like, I don't think that's so difficult. So I think that what's happening right now is the culmination of the catalyst of the 45th president, shit that's always been happening, and just the exploitative nature of capitalism and how it's inherently just not meant to be sustainable for other than the bourgeoisie or the white rich men that control everything. So fire in the streets, I think, is something that needs to happen, because there's not going to be anything peaceful, because the system is created to where the small few peaceful things you can do to protest are outlawed when you do them. And you're, you know, and so I think there's a thing that y'all probably all seen around is like, there's no way that anyone could loot all that's been taken, especially from Black Americans. So for me, I think Black liberation needs to happen. That's what I would love to see, and I would love to, you know, be a part of that, as everyone should be. That involves giving the land back. It involves getting, you know, that's a dynamic one, right? The whole system of America would have to go. You know, people will, you know, I'm talking burn the Constitution. Like, there's no point in respecting that shit when in the Bill of Rights and all of that, like, people don't even have those amendment rights still. They were written with 3/5 compromise just to benefit, you know, like, all that shit is what we're expected to respect and we want to uphold. As there's homeless in the streets, people addicted to drugs because of opioid crisis and other things, or drugs funneled into the society for the benefit of a president because he didn't like the president that was duly elected in another place, right? Like, so I think more people need to realize that you don't have to be a part of something to make a change. Like, the most important individual in individual thing you can do is really yourself. So educating yourself and not expecting others to educate you, but reaching out to Google. And when you buy a book, don't buy it from Amazon, buy it from a Black-owned bookstore. Things like that. I think not expecting to be an ally and to stand behind as someone leads something, but rather find things that you can lead to help them, but also stand behind the individuals, the Black individuals, when they need you to, and being willing to not take up space. And so I just don't think people realize that how much space are you taking up? What's your individual thoughts? Are you allowing family members to be racist? Are you allowing little microaggressions in society? Are you having the tough conversations? Like, these are the things that you need to do to be a part of change. So it's not, you don't have to do something big or gigantic or this large action. You just need to care past the black square on an Instagram and performative activism. So I think like education and Black liberation are some things that I think that they link, obviously, but yeah.
What is diversity and what does it mean to you?
Oh man, golly. Well, obviously when you say diversity, I think of like a lot of different, right? A lot of different perspective, a lot of different, whether it be like skin tones, ethnicities, religion, like physical ability, mental ability, education level, job, like diversity, bro, like perspectives in all forms, like the acknowledgement that and there's a word for this, it's sonder. It's not by any means this in the dictionary, but it's along the lines of the realization that everyone's life is as complex as your own. So like, as I am this entity that has all these intersections and the socialization and all these variables that make me up and gain my perspective and give me my piece of diversity, everyone else is just as complex and intricate and have a different set of variables and a circumstance the universe put them in that gives them their sense of perspective. So the idea of like, in order to have diversity, you have to have all of those other things, but you also have to have a respect for it, even when you don't see it illustrated. So I don't think that like I need to, like, I think it matters, obviously, getting different people that look different, but also they don't need to have to be there for you to care. Like, diversity is you being so naturally thought about how like you just automatically know as a part of your being that everyone is different and that there's no way you could ever know anyone like fully, right? Like that idea of like, just without that being represented there, your just natural way of thinking is like in a diverse way, because like that's what you strive for. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but like diversity shouldn't be just the looks or the outside or what the company can present as their diverse workforce, as their board of directors are all white, right? Diversity should be a way of thinking, a curiosity that you want to go out and learn the working class mentality, not just here but other places, the curiosity to give a fuck even if you don't explicitly see it, is kind of what diversity means to me.
Okay, so what is a fun and or unique, interesting fact about yourself?
Oh man, unique. I mean, my brain. I mean, I don't mean to sound like, I don't ever want to sound like conceited or like cocky. But I also have an awareness that the way that I think and the way that I conduct myself and the ideals and the morals I hold, like outside of even just what we're touching on right now, but things that we haven't even talked about, are unique and you know, it opens me up for like a lot of hurt, you know, and things like that, and disappointment, but also like my brain is like beautiful. Like I feel like that could low-key be everyone's answer though, because like everyone's brain is beautiful and unique, and like the fucking literally the organ that holds all that you are as your like entity moves you around your vessel, you know, this entity's in your head and it's like creating you. So yeah, I would say brain. Hit me up if you want to learn more about it. I'm playing.
And what's a fun fact about yourself?
Oh, fun fact. I mean, golly, nothing pops to mind. Fun facts. Like interesting facts, like
yeah,
like have a sick head yet. I really like tattoos, but that's not really like a fun fact. I can sit through really long tattoos, like 14 hours over 2 days. That's a thigh piece that I have. Fun, I guess I'm not really per se fun. Moko's falling asleep on the fucking table. But yeah, I mean, fun is like, I like tattoos. I guess we could like kind of connect that to like the idea of pain. Like, I think, you know, a masochist, right? Not in any kind of weird way right now, but like, just like pushing your body to see how much your brain can take. Like allowing yourself to be like, am I gonna be able to sit through this tattoo and make it? And like the only thing that's stopping you or making you do that is yourself, and like pushing your brain to physically be capable of what you want it to be.
How many tattoos do you have?
You know, I kind of don't want to answer this question because I saw something on you know, good old social media, and it was like, if you can count your tattoos, you don't have enough. But I can count them. I think it's like 13 or 14 of like different little sessions, yeah, over the years.
What's your favorite tattoo?
Oh, I knew that was coming. Golly, depends on context. I think like if you want to talk about like I fucks very heavy that I have like my mom and dad and the anniversary here, and then on the other arm I got my sisters, and these are their birthday flowers. They were born in October, so Marigold and Cosmos. But this one is like a tattoo, may he rest in power. Nick Bruner had this tattoo. Still have to get this finished, so it means a lot to me in that regard. My head tattoo, because I think that I mean, it makes a statement in a sense. Like, I think it's pretty badass, if I can gas myself up slightly there. The meaning behind it is it's a play off like the right and left brain. So essentially this tattoo artist, Nelson Sosa, based out of Miami, he did the work on my lower half here. I sent him just like a bunch of literature on the right and left brain about how like you really can't have a true understanding of something without the right and left brain. Like you could have a red cup, but you'll only either know that it's red or a cup unless you have both sides like talking to each other. And the brain's elasticity, if I said that correctly, is really amazing. So like the way you think or the habits that you have are because you forge these pathways in your gray matter, but like the cool thing is you can unforge them and unlearn your shit and learn better things. So that's kind of like in terms of like society right now, like people gotta be uncomfortable to learn the hard truths and their role in it, and rewire pathways and rewire how they handle situations, how they respond to individuals. So I like that meaning a lot, because that's kind of like the brain is fucking amazing, that fucking mind-blowing, right? So like I figured if I'm getting something on my head, it should be related to the brain that's encased within it. So yeah. And then the only one that I have, and this is kind of like not the same question but related, of like of all the tattoos, I wouldn't per se want any of them covered, but I do have a quote on my back that's kind of like don't talk about it, be about it.
So if somebody was walking past you on the street, what's something you'd want them to know about you?
I guess the lack of information would be nice, like someone to walk past and make no judgments about you based off of how you appear, ideally, right? But obviously people are gonna notice something. What I want them to know about me, I don't know, that we're all just fluid fucking beings trying to survive in a shitty ass society, and like, why try and make anybody's lives harder or diminish their struggle because you just don't have the time to worry about it or you're comfortable.
What's some advice you'd give your younger self?
Man. Just like keep pushing, honestly. I mean, like keep pushing, because like other people are too. Like other people are struggling, other people want the same thing and struggling worse than you are, you know, and they get out of bed and they survive and they've done it forever. Like keep pushing to where you're all liberated and no one has to worry about that shit no more.